of the lion mouth.
Hello, my name is Ben from Lion Vibes. Welcome to episode 2 of From the Lion's Mouth. I'm here today with the legendary Neil Fraser, more better known as Mad Professor, owner of Ariwa, producer, engineer, technician and label owner, now live performer too, and shortly to be an author. We are going to talk through the incredible history of the studio, through all of the iterations it's had over the last 45 years.
45 years.
45 years. Welcome, Mad Professor.
Thank you. We're in the lion's mouth. And when you're in the lion's mouth, be careful how you take it out. All right.
So first of all, can you just run us through your initial first setup at Thornton Heath?
Oh gosh. Well, initially, we bought this house in Thornton Heath, myself and wife, and it had what we thought was a biggish sitting room, but now when you think about it, it wasn't that big. And the normal thing would be to put in like some chairs and tables and things. But I thought this is ideal to build a studio. And before then, I was building equipment, like building amplifiers. I built a reverb, and I had a reel-to-reel tape machine. I had a
just a
Akai.
two-track.
Yeah,
Akai.
two-track Akai. And I thought I'd love to build a mixing desk, and I started to build a mixing desk, and I managed to get 4 tracks of the mixing desk, and then
And that was using the knowledge from Soundcraft and I guess previous knowledge.
Yeah, knowledge from when I was 10 years old, because when I built my first Rage, I was 10 years old. So, I taught myself to read circuit diagrams, and taught myself about color codes and what a resistor does. I mean, I was just a crazy guy who jumped in and started to build things, because electronics was like magic. Like, I mean, I'd look at a light bulb and think, how's that light bulb working? And, I'm from a generation who, we didn't have books, we didn't have internet. We just jump in and work things out for ourselves. Like I'd build my guitar,
Yeah?
and understand about the chords and, the notes.
So do you play the guitar as well?
No, I didn't continue. But,
Okay.
But I know the basic. I mean, it wanna take, in the early days, I could have gone either way. I could have gone into being a guitarist, though I'm left-handed. But, I didn't. I choose to go more the technical way.
Right.
Yeah.
So that initial setup where you got to a level of recording, you got the 4-track, that's what...
Yeah,
mixer
about the 4-track, and I got the mixer.
And that was the A3440?
No, it's the other one. A3. Oh, that's the one you said, yeah. Because there are 2 of them. There's the A3340, and then the 34. But it's the second one. It wasn't the first generation.
Lee Perry had the first one, didn't
Lee
he?
Perry had the first one.
And you had
and
the
I had the
slight
second
level
one.
up.
Yeah. Because they stopped making the first one, which was 330. Something like that. I can't remember. It's many
4-track
moons ago.
quarter-inch as well.
4-track quarter-inch. Running at, I think my own was going at 7.5 and 15.
Yeah.
And the first one Lee had was running at 3 3/4.
Oh, wow.
And 7.5.
Amazing what he did with that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but, that was the only access to multi-track recording for a long time.
Right.
And then there were a few other people, like a company in Germany, Dakota made a 4-track
A
machine,
kind of budget one,
Yeah.
which was still not
Yeah.
cheap, right?
No, not cheap.
Yeah.
Not as expensive as like the real professional, like the Ampex and the Scully. Like
Yeah.
Scully and Ampex, you're talking about £5,000
Which is-
the 70s.
A good 20k equivalent, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of money.
And I've noticed you so it's about 1979 when you first got this initial setup.
Yeah, because we moved into the house around 78, and then by 79 I was up and running, and I got a few friends to help put together. And next thing I know, we got 8 tracks, and then when
That happened quite quick,
yeah, it all happened within months.
within months.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
the
which
88,
is-
right?
That was
The half-inch.
that was the 808.
Yeah. Okay.
I remember going to some place and buying that stuff on HP. I borrowed a bit of money.
Okay.
And,
HP.
yeah, high purchase.
Right. Seen. Yeah.
High purchase, where you don't have the cash in your pocket, you just go and get a loan, kind of thing, yeah.
And at this point, were you kind of renting out commercially? Like, was it almost straight away that you started to like bring in people to record? Because I know you work with a lot of rock bands and
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, I stuck an advert in Melody Maker
Okay.
that says studio available, 8-track studio available, and then the first 2 people who were supposed to come didn't come, and I was thinking, oh, maybe this is how the music business works. People don't come.
Yeah.
And then the third person who was supposed to come, I remember getting fed up, but I said to the wife, listen, let's go out. Maybe this is not for me, this business. Let's go out. We went out, came back, and the guy was sitting outside the house. And I thought, boy, okay. And I explained to him, and that was like the first session.
£8 an hour.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
You probably no $6.50.
$6.50.
$6.50 an hour, and then
Bargain.
and then a load of other guys came around. Some of them got famous, and some, and lots of people, and it built up. But at that time, I was keeping Sundays for myself, right?
Yeah.
And I would do, like, get some musicians around and jam.
So you really came from like a real technological kind of place.
Yeah.
What was it like doing kind of initially being a musical producer, more than just engineering, recording? Did you find that natural? Did you sort of immediately know, I like this, I know what's right musically, not just
Right.
recording wise?
Right. Well, I had an idea of certain things because, I grew up knowing what I like and knowing what I don't like. And I did like people like Mighty Sparrow. I like Delroy Wilson. I like the Wailers. My first record was actually Duppy Conqueror that I bought, And even before I knew quite what a producer does, I like Lee Perry stuff, And I used to notice these records say produced by, and without knowing quite what a producer
means.
does.
Yeah. Which really can vary, especially in reggae.
yeah.
It can have many different meanings, right?
Right. It could be the guy who's there at every inch of the way, and it could be the guy who's never there.
Right. You fall into quite a lot of the categories in a way, as that, the person funding the project, plus kind of musically being present.
Yeah, and the guy who shapes the sound and who influences the overall sound. I mean, a producer is a complicated thing, but I simplify by saying what defines a producer is the man who's ultimately responsible for the song and for getting a record out. That is what defines a producer.
Are you the sort of producer, or I guess this developed over time, but would you like rehearse the songs with the band before and then take them into record, or would you kind of work it out there and then get someone to voice afterwards?
Well, coming from the time when I'm coming from, we would go in the studio with a song, right? And once you have that song in mind, you know, say we build the rhythm around the song, around the singer, you know, that's where I was coming from. And even when the guys are just laying a rhythm, we would like give them some lines for them to build,
to give the vibe and keep the shape of it.
Like, walking down the road, see a pretty girl, and you go, you know, and you get around that.
Yeah.
And most musicians were lost in just coming up with a rhythm. They would either revert to some song that is already out there, or borrow a bit from here and borrow a bit from there, and
make something totally original.
Yeah, but it's most of it is stolen from three or four different songs.
It's only 12 notes, right?
Right. Right. So yeah, man.
Thornton Heath lasted about till 82, sometime around there.
Yes. Thornton Heath. Well, what had happened, funny enough, when because I made a record with Sgt. Pepper, because I was decorating the house, right? And then, because I only knew one musician, you know, one musician I knew, and that's a guy called Dave Morgan. He used to play keyboard.
In the Black Vaults?
In Black Vaults, right. I saw him up to 2 days ago. And I went by their rehearsal, and then they would be rehearsing in Battersea in the basement. And I'll say to the drummer, what's that? He said, that's a snare drum. I say, what's that? That's the tom. And then he had a guitar or something. And I was there sitting on watching, mouth open. You know, I was about 18, 19. And then they were going to France, and I said, oh, I'll come, give me the address. They gave me the address, and I found my way. They were all flying to Paris or something like that, and I found my way through the ferry and all that, and I ended up, so at that point, they knew I was kind of serious. But what I was going to tell you, I was working in the daytime. I was working at a electronics firm in around Woking, Byfleet, right? I was in Byfleet in Surrey. And the guy knew, I mean, every day I was talking about music. And, you know, I had there's a next fan there, a guy named Roger Dalk, who was like a
deep reggae head.
Yeah.
So I mean, he was working there, or
we were in the same place.
Roger Dalk, he's very famous in the kind of record collecting scene because he kept all the catalogs. And
yeah. Is he still about? You know,
I'm not sure. You know,
okay.
I don't believe so. But his legacy lives on.
Yeah, Roger. I mean, I couldn't believe it, because in those days, you wouldn't expect a white guy, and he had gray hair then. So okay. I mean, yeah, he's probably a bit older than me. But you won't believe the amount of knowledge about reggae, and I learned a lot from him.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and we were talking reggae, and then the boss for the place, got pissed off. And
that's a terrible combination. You and Roger Dalkey, I can imagine. Worst employees.
Yeah, because I was from the technical side, and he was more, you want to hear the Studio One? He was like a Studio One fanatic, and he was telling me
He was well known for trying to catalogue like all of the Bamboo label, Banana, all these things.
Him.
Yeah,
That's him. He was telling me something that, you know, to me that was the real learning. And then one day the boss came in and he said, "Listen, because I was fixing PCBs, and he said, there's a fault with this one, there's a fault with that one, blah, blah." And I could see he was like getting at me, you know. And then the next week, he started to pick some more on my work. I said, "Listen, you know what? Fuck you, fuck your job, I'm out of here."
Which I guess was his intention. He was trying to load too much onto you.
So
Good.
I think, you know, and I left.
So this is late 70s. This is still in the early days of the Thornton Heath.
This might be about 81, because the studio was working part-time. It wasn't working,
of course,
full-time, you know.
Yeah.
And when I went home, the phone ring, because we didn't have mobile phone. We had the same phone number. Phone ring, I picked it up, and was Shaka on the phone. And Shaka said, "Are we here about the studio? You want to come down?" He was told about the studio from a guy called I. Benjamin, right? Who he just came in and he had done some sessions with Paul Smickle, you know, Paul,
Groucho,
right?
Another talented engineer, right?
Very, yeah. Learned a lot from
working at Island by that point.
He was working with everybody. He was there. I mean, he's supposed to be a lot bigger in the dub world as well.
I really feel he never gets his dues in a way.
Yeah,
I don't think he ever wanted them in a way. I don't know. He's always been.
I think later on he wanted it, but by the time he wanted, you know, he'd have to reprogram himself. No, because he knows his stuff. And, you know, I mean, like, scientists just about made that switch at the right time. But, you know, scientists was a little late, because when you're engineer, one of the things you learn more is about the sound and not the sight. And what has developed since then is like you have to look the part, because if you deal too much with the song, then the audience could get bored, you know. I mean, if you really want to take engineer to the next level,
to be the artist.
Yeah, to be an artist. Mm-hmm. I mean, people get pissed off because you're there trying to perfect a song. Nobody want to hear a song more than 2-3 times.
Right. You know, in the studio.
Well, and we're still live.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah, of course.
So, you know, you got to think. But anyhow, Shaka came, and by then I'd upgraded from the 1/2-inch.
You're on the Ampex now.
Now I got an Ampex.
Right, the really heavy one.
Big beast.
Yeah.
It's called MM1000, which had an 8-track and a 16-track 2-inch.
So I've heard you talk about this. So it had an 8-track 1-inch head.
Yeah.
And then a 16-track 2-inch.
Yeah.
And so the kind of, I've never seen, so I didn't realize you could ever sort of change like the whole kind of width of it fully, because that's double the size.
Yeah, but the guides, you got a couple of guides on either side of the head block, which guides the tape and keep the tape within.
So that would have to change as well?
Place. No, it was on the head block. So by the time you lob off these 4 screws and then you lift it up,
the whole thing, basically.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
The whole
could spool it in, basically. Yeah.
So it keeps it in, you know. So he had some 1-inch tapes with like different guys playing. You got some stuff from Aswood. That was I think Aswood laid the rhythm, and then he called in Junior Brown, a singer from West London.
This was Warriors.
Yeah, he did Warriors and did a couple other tunes.
And this was just you voicing. The rhythms were already.
Yeah, the rhythms were laid.
Yeah.
Yeah, me voicing and then mix them through my with my customized reverb, build my reverb. My echo was an old Revox G36, which I created by Vari-Speed. But a lot of time I didn't use Vari-Speed. I just stick to the old 3 3/4 and just go in and back out on itself, you know.
And then feed it back through.
Yeah.
You had its own channel on the desk?
Yeah, because the desk had got a effects return.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
and did you have... Are you someone when you dub mix, I guess this has also changed through the years.
Yeah.
I'm sure you like to have a lot of control when the effect comes back.
You mean with EQ?
EQ.
Right.
Or then maybe even be able to have another aux send where you can send the return effect somewhere else.
Yeah. But at that time, those first sessions were quite basic. Mm-hmm. You couldn't EQ nothing going back, you know. It's afterwards, you know, that's when I realized, I better build the next 4 channels. Then I end up with 12 channels, and then I had some returns, you know. But yeah, Shaka came, and then so that's like up to 82, just after that, and that's when people like Ruts, DC came in, and a lot of other rock bands.
Okay.
Come in,
and you were turning.
Yeah.
It felt like a kind of feasible studio that you were keeping busy, you know.
Yeah, because suddenly I was busy, because I think after Shaka session, then nothing happened for like a month. Then I don't know, Shaka might have told Moambasa, because just after that, I think I went on the dole. I remember going down to the dole office and telling the people for the first time in my life, I said, listen, I need to make some money, because, you know, we had a mortgage, and I think my daughter had just born. So my wife was beginning to put a little bit of pressure, asking the same questions she'd ask now. So how are we going to afford it?
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, so...
but after that 4 weeks, it
pick up. Moambasa came in with some tapes from Tubbies, and then different reggae people, and at the same time, the Melody Maker advert started to work, and I had...
And the price was up to £8.
Yeah. You sound like you were there. Unless you did some research. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. Price went up to £8. The rock bands came in. Now, this room was not soundproofed, so you could hear the music from outside, and some guys were working late.
You had a neighbor who was working night shifts. Or something, right?
Something like that.
Yeah.
So next thing, we had a cease and desist letter from the council saying if I carry on, then they would have to prosecute me for becoming a nuisance. So I started to look around for a place, because I thought, maybe I could afford a premises, you know, somewhere. And I found a place in Balham, actually, just behind Balham Station. And I think that was something like, it was cheap, something like £20 a week or something. Yeah, real cheap. And it wasn't that big. It was 2 rooms, probably 1 room from here to where that box is. Well, both rooms were that side.
Yes.
I thought, yeah,
100 square foot, bit bigger.
yeah, and it was on street level, nice little detached place like it used to be a garage or something. And I was about to move in, then it occurred to me, I'm gonna outgrow it, because by then I'd pressed up the first record,
The Sergeant
Pepper, called "Come Back Again."
with his sister on backing vocals.
Yes.
The mighty Sandra
Cross was on backing vocals, and that was my. But you know, there's a story about that when it bombed. Oh, I mean, it's in my book. You'll have to read the book. But anyhow, I thought I was gonna move in. Then I changed my mind, because I thought this place too small, and I look around and I found the place in Peckham, which was bigger. It was like
This is Gortree Road.
Yeah. Had a basement, and I always wanted a basement studio. From I went to Gooseberry, and I saw Dennis Bovell in the basement, you know, and I think Angus Gale was drumming and all that, and I thought, boy, this is, and they had an Ampex like I had as a
The
big Ampex in the basement, and I wanted a basement studio, so I found this place in Peckham, basement level, street level thing, next floor, that about 5 different floors, and I thought, this is the place. Gortree Road, Peckham, and I moved in, or tried to, and then
You couldn't get the Ampex in.
Couldn't get it Ampex.
So you couldn't get it down to the basement.
Couldn't get it down to the basement, and I mean, by rights at that point we should have really left it on the street level and have a remote or something.
You did do that briefly, didn't you?
Yeah.
You had sort of the tape up there, and you'd say, play!
Yeah, play and drop in and all that,
oh,
you know.
God, doing the drop-ins, that must have been a nightmare. Wow.
Yeah, we did that for a time, but then I changed that machine to get a smaller machine that could go down.
So was this the custom 16-track from Peter Keeling?
Yes, you know him.
Yeah, no, I don't. Okay. I've only read about it.
Yeah, man.
From you.
Peter Keeling, he was he is a farmer's son who just loved music and song. And in the middle of a farm in what's the place? Shrewsbury.
Okay.
He would be building this tape machine, and he built
hammering nails and
crazy. And I got the machine from him that said 004, right? So 4. You think he'd sold 3 of them before me, but when I put on my tapes, track 1 was at the bottom. Track 1 was where track 16 supposed to be. So I called him, I said, Peter, your machine wired up wrong. He said, no, it can't be. Oh, I said, well, believe me, it is, because I know my tapes, 1 is at the top. And according to your machine, 1 is at the bottom. He said, my goodness. I said, well, you better tell the other 3 people that the machine is wired wrong. So gradually we think, but it was a weird machine. It would fly off.
You made some amazing recordings on that.
Yeah, gradually, you know.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I've learned, and up to last week I had to tell a musician who was going crazy about Neumann mics. Absolutely. He said, boy, it's the best song. I have to tell you, know, you could make good music on anything, you know. You just have to have the overall concept. You don't need the best of microphones or the best tape machines to make good music. You could do it with anything you want. And that machine, it gave me hell. Sometimes he'd be playing, and if you have a track into ready, it would just go, and you see it's recording or erasing a track by itself.
So it could literally be recording over that perfect take you had just done.
Of course, without you pressing it. And it was really, how could I put it? You know, as I learned more about electronics, I realized the spec of active components, the spec was not high. And what that means, some of the noise is generated by the active components, and they trigger other things. And
because they're just not good quality?
Because it's just a noisy level. And like the guys at Soundcraft, for instance, Soundcraft used to go through, and that's one of the things, one of the reasons why they got themselves a good name. The spec of like the semiconductors in a Soundcraft machine was usually very, very high spec. You know, they weren't like they use. There's a thing called TLO 71, and it's a op amp, but they would use TLO 71 NS, which was costing more, but it's a low noise.
Yeah, so they're definitely in the detail.
Right.
And this is your school, you know, you came through the Soundcraft thing.
Yeah, well, I was building things and then listening on a headphone, and literally with a high spec, like op amp, you don't hear shh, but you use a normal op amp and you hear shh.
Wow. So it's these really quite small components which can make a massive difference.
Yeah, make a very big difference. And Peter Keelan, he was just using anything.
Yeah.
You know, and I struggled, but I mean, we end up with English Girl from the Bengali Skank.
Right, which we were just talking about.
Yeah. So we end up making a few very good records. But
English Girl, was that a drum machine?
No, the first one was real drums.
Okay, it was that.
Billy Cross. Yeah. And then there's a new one that we did again.
Not that long after, about 4 years off.
Oh, hold on. The first one done 82 when we moved to Peckham first. And then the next one done 92, I think.
Okay, all right. So,
yeah. No, about 91, maybe 92.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And then in Gautry Road, you eventually upgraded to a smaller Ampex, which you got from Richard Branson or something like that?
I got that from the barge.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about that machine, I knew basically that the Aces, Peter's machine, wasn't really a good machine. But I was strapped financially. There's no way I could have get like a professional machine like a Studer or MCI. I mean, then you're talking about 12, 15 grand at least, you know?
In back then money.
Yeah.
So you could buy a house with it kind of thing.
Well, you could have.
Yeah.
Yeah, because...
I think people forget, especially younger people like me, you know, how much professional recording equipment cost back then.
Big money.
Yeah.
And then that's not the only thing. You need a machine, you need a desk, you need an outboard. Outboard was really costly. And you need soundproofing.
Yeah.
I mean, I was
studio.
Yeah, I was cutting corners on soundproofing. I would just have like a little plastic thing, you know, on the wall.
Did you have any issues with the neighbours at Gautry Road?
No. Never.
Nah, basement.
And Gautry Road was a kind of ghetto. I don't know. It was like a ghetto vibe. It was a vibe wherein, I mean, it was a place where at that time you never used to see even a lot of white guys walking around. that part of Peckham. I remember a lot of the clients I built up from my house in Thornton Heath, they wouldn't come to Peckham, or they'd come one time and then they wouldn't come back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I got shook. Yeah.
Yeah, Peckham at that time was rough, and you had some guys who were walking around as if, boy, they'd beat up anyone who didn't look like them and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was a little bit aggressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was even too aggressive for me. My wife wouldn't go to Peckham.
Right. And it culminated in you getting robbed there, right?
Yeah, yeah, which is what made me left at the end of the day.
I was going to ask, was Shaka, because you shared the premises at some point with him, was that while you were still using the basement?
Yeah.
Did Shaka have the upstairs?
Yeah, because after I moved in Peckham, you know, I mean, Shaka became a regular client user, even from the house.
Mm-hmm.
He would come in and he would do, because we started Commandments of Dub when we were still.
So is Commandments of Dub number one? Is that done with you?
Yeah. I done about the first 5 or 6 commandments,
But they were all,
and brimstone and fire, and I mean, I did most of Revelation songs as well. You know,
what was when you were doing the sessions with Jah Shaka? Were you you were just the engineer?
Yeah.
What was it like watching Shaka in the studio? Because he's one of those people, he works with a load of different musicians.
Yeah.
You have the same thing as well.
Yeah.
But there's always a kind of unified sound. You'd be like, that's a Shaka.
Right. Well,
how did he like translate that to the musicians?
You know, at that time, and in fact, for the first Commandments of Dub, he was playing bass between him and I think Hugh Isachar, and there was some brothers called Big Dread. That's you know, they were
the Dread and Fred.
No, it was there's another name for them. 2 brothers who were like biggish guys.
And they played drum and bass, or?
Yeah, Wazir. Yeah. They played drum and bass, and Shaka himself was playing the bass a couple of times. So he was
very musically involved.
Yeah,
rather than just kind of conducting or telling people to do something.
He was definitely involved. I mean, and sometimes he don't get the notes right, and they would perfect it and stuff like that.
Okay, but he would give those vibes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Yeah, man. Shaka. There's definitely a Shaka feel, you know, to it. You know, I mean, he was, you know, he was amazing that he carried a vibe. The guys I work with over the years who I find carry a vibe, whether or not they play stuff, it's people like Shaka. Yabiu is the next one. Believe me, Yabiu, you could be doing a session and it could be the sweetest love song, and Yabiu would walk into that room and suddenly it would be a real love song with a Shaka feel, with a Yabiu feel.
Yeah.
Just his presence.
And that's, you really get that from his music.
It's a spiritual thing.
And it's literally just his presence. It's not play that F minor here. It's
he don't have to say nothing. Yeah. You don't have to say nothing.
Did Augustus
Shaka's
Pablo
a bit like that. Yeah,
Pablo kind of effect.
Pablo's got that as well, but I guess he hasn't done so much, you know, because well, for whatever reason, he wasn't as productive as say Yabiu. Yabiu was like one of the most productive producers without a studio.
Yeah,
never had a studio, and yet the way his productions are, you think he had a studio.
Was he quite quick?
Yeah, man. Yabi is a vibe man, you know, and you just get the musicians whooping up things, you know. Next thing you know, 2-3 songs done, you know.
Would you say you learn? It kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier about being the producer. Did you pick up a lot of things working with these real strong characters?
Yeah, man. To be honest, I was like a sponge.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because remember, I didn't know anything about music, about studio, about even reggae. I thought I knew about reggae until I got talking to people. Then I realized, shit.
Roger Dork.
yeah, like him, Roger. That's when I realized I didn't know nothing. I mean, like, and funny enough, a lot of guys who started about the same time as me, you know, a lot of them were like friends. I mean, like John a dub Fender. John, he, you know, I mean, I learned a lot talking with John, you know. And
on the business side of the label or the whole thing?
Just the reggae frequency, you could say, you know, because he's a master of that.
Because he had already been in the game quite a while by then.
He was in the game. I mean, we started about the same time, but he leaped more into Jamaica than I did, you know. I mean, I didn't really go to Jamaica until late 80s, you know.
Okay.
But John and Chris, they went to Jamaica
No, they had
earlier.
an amazing connection, putting out records. I think from 77 was their first release with Gussie Clark.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, amazing. You know, they're our inspiration as well. We wouldn't be here without them, I don't think.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. And I learned a lot with him. It's more or less the frequency. There's a certain reggae vibration.
Right. No, I understand, yeah.
Which he clearly understood and know how to deal with it as a UK man, because at the end of the day, for all sense of purposes, we're all UK people. Even me, even though, you know, I'm from the Caribbean, I'm like, I'm as green to it as John, but he understood.
Yeah,
you know how to deal, you know. And people like Shaka, man, Shaka definitely taught me a lot.
And at what point, I wonder if it was still Gortree Road, when, I know you've talked about it before, when Lee Perry, was it Sid Buckner?
Yeah. Funny enough,
that's about gating, and
that's just when I got the other Ampex.
So you're still at Gortree Road?
MM 1100. Yeah, 1100. Because what did happen? We went away for the summer. We went to America, actually. Me and my wife. She was just, I think she was just expecting Joe. You know. We realized that we have a baby coming.
Wow.
which and I went to we went to America, and I was promised this machine when I come back. So I come back, got the machine, and I got my friends from Songcraft to extend the desk further.
Literally a chassis, kind of the case, basically.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I end up with 32 channels. So
that was Soundcraft channels, or you literally built those channels? Yeah.
Soundcraft
fully modular.
Channels. Yeah. Proper tested.
And it was 32
to well, really and truly, it's 16, but the way they done it, because these guys are geniuses, they flick it over, and the first 8 became 16.
Right, so there was 8 faders, but there was 16 outputs.
Yeah, 16.
There would be,
so it depends where you send the signal to. You just these toggle switches, and then the next one. So it was like 2 separate desks that share in a common bus.
Okay. Yes.
And then the second one was the similar thing coming in from that side.
As long as the bus connects, it'll.
That's it.
Yeah.
Then you could mix together and you send your auxiliary same. auxiliary sensor, so you know. So yeah, and then I got the Ampex now. Hook up the Ampex from a guy who was like Mr. Ampex. He knew everything about it. He spent all day, and then.
How old approximately was like the 1100? Was it kind of a couple of years old, or was it from like the
1100? Because don't forget 24 tracks as machines were only from like around 76. So, and the 1100 was the 24 version. That was a new tape machine that replaced the MM1000. So I would say it would have been about 5 years old.
Okay, so pretty fresh, really. Yeah.
Yeah, fresh, but things were developing rapidly, you know. And the machine was there then. I think Winston and Seven Leaves, Tony, they brought up
Winston Edwards.
Yeah, Winston Edwards. And they brought Lee. And then Lee came in.
Lee Perry, that was.
Yeah.
And there was someone from the Zircon label as well, Andy or something.
Oh no, that was
I might have got the label wrong there.
Oh, you know about Zircon.
Zircon.
Zircon, Adam.
Okay.
Adam, who ended up managing the Orb.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Adam, he came along because they had this tour in mind for Lee Perry, and then, you know, he was more managing that tour. And what's his name? Winston and Tony were more doing the recording side. So they would bring Lee down until he found his own way. He was quite together. Come in the studio, come from like 10 o'clock and he worked till midnight. And the next day he come like from 10 o'clock, you know.
And he was, you talked about him balancing, he was kind of mixing.
Oh, yeah.
He could do it very quick.
Scratch.
One pass.
Just one pass and it's there.
And he was literally there on the controls.
Yeah.
You were just kind of there.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was there for a lot of time in the recording, and then he'd say, right, run it. And when I run it and he don't like what he hear, he just come around, say, come. And he just sat there and, all right, put that.
And it was always right.
Well, I didn't think so at first. It's only afterwards when I listened to it I realized, shit, he's hearing things different from I was. And it was definitely right.
Wow.
I mean, he just had a good period. And then he brought in Sid as well to do a lot of stuff. And Sid, I mean, I had a lot of devices, just like now. I mean, at my studio, I've got a lot of crazy outboard stuff from 19-something, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I just had things. And Sid was saying, you have this and you don't hook it up. And he look at...
so you were collecting from back then, you already had...
Oh, yeah. I mean, because I just like devices. And sometimes you go somewhere and you pick up a compressor or a little delay or something. And, you know, he would say, what are you doing with, you know, Sid? Sid's definitely an experienced engineer who learned to make things work, you know. I mean, like I said, I was like a sponge. I was just soaking in things.
And, you know, he was like, I guess being with him, you know, he had been at studios when some of the real classics had been recorded. And
well, I didn't know that. That's the thing, you know. I mean, a lot of time, you know, I mean, I barely knew who Lee Perry was other than his name was on some records. It's afterwards, you know, when I started. I mean,
the information was harder to come by, I guess, then in a way.
Yeah. You don't know anything unless you talk to someone like John the Duffin and you say, you know who that is. He was blah, blah, blah. And then you know.
Yeah. Piece by
But
piece.
yeah. But I personally, like I said, I'm not from Jamaica, and I don't. And even guys who are from Jamaica, they don't know about these people.
No, and the details of who recorded what, and
no, it's afterwards you pick up things, you know.
Something I wanted to ask you about. I've never really heard you talk about it in interviews, and it's a critical part of the recording process. Or did you find it to be critical? Learning like mic positions and experimenting with that, dampening and these kind of things.
Right.
Are you still very focused on that, like when you record, or are you much more like put a gate on it to isolate it, or?
Well, I think a lot of it depends on the weakest links within the chain, you know, because like when you work with certain microphones, you need less gates. Like, say a microphone like a Sennheiser. It's a harder sound and you don't need to gate so much, you know. And then you teach yourself about the levels coming into the microphone. So there's certain tricks where you could bring down the level coming into the microphone and you don't need gate so much.
Right.
And even if you close up, you don't need gate so much. Whereas if you could wide open the mic, and it depends on the band, because like rock bands, for instance, rock bands deal with more of an ambient sound. You could have a gate, you could have a drum kit, and they would just record with like 2 microphones sometimes.
Yeah.
And
because they want that kind of bleed.
They want their room sound.
Yeah.
You know, whereas like, especially on Peckham, we used to have it so tight, you know, you hardly would hear the cymbals, you know?
Yeah. So typically, can you remember from them, would you have mic on the kick, one mic on the snare?
Yeah. We didn't have the luxury to have 2 microphones.
Yeah, right. Due to inputs and
and just you don't have enough microphones.
Yeah, right.
Because there was a time when the microphone on the snare would double up as the vocal microphone.
Of course.
So 2 mics on the snare, man. You're a rich man.
Yeah.
No, man. You just...
A mic on the hi-hat, was that a priority?
Yeah.
I noticed even from your early production, the hi-hats.
Yeah. I still use the same mic, 451.
The AKG.
AKG 451, man.
And so you settled on that early?
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, I was convinced that was the best hi-hat mic, you know.
And do you have it kind of facing away, or is it straight above it, or? Usually,
I was coming in at the side.
Facing towards the drummer?
Not necessary, but just make sure the sound where it was. Because I didn't really work on getting the sound of the hi-hat plates. I was more into the rather than that, you know. But I know some people put a microphone on top there. Plates, but
it gives quite
a metallic
sound, right?
Metallic sound. Yeah, I wasn't so metallic.
Yeah.
I needed to. And then the Soundcraft, the EQ on that was really good.
For that was 4-band.
4-band, parametric.
Okay, so you had the control.
Yeah, man. Yeah. You could just cut really. In fact, it cuts better than the SSL top end.
Okay. Really, the EQ would just had that sharpness to
it. I want to hook up back that desk, because that desk is really.
Right, I heard you say there was another desk you wanted to set up.
Yeah, I want to. Yeah, I've got it lean up on the wall. I want to get it going again. Yeah.
Cool.
Really, really good EQ and bottom end as well, man.
Do you have enough? Would that be in Studio A at the new Ariwa?
No, we probably create. I mean, we got loads of rooms. That's the next thing.
That's the next thing. Just before we go on to that, because I want to talk about that in the latest iteration of the studio.
All right.
Another thing I've never heard you talk about is, and I'm sure this changed over the years, who are you using to cut your releases? To cut the lacquers in order to press?
I use one guy for like 90% of my stuff up to now. A guy who, he's about a year older than me. His name, Noel Somerville. And when I started, he was like the apprentice engineer at Pi, which became PRT at the back of Marble Arch. And they were, as you know, around that part of the world, it was all studios and cutting facility and so. And he was a tall guy, you know, tall. And we developed a friendship, and he, to the point wherein I would just send him stuff and he cut. I hardly
You didn't even have to go down there to keep an eye.
I hardly, because he knows the mixes and he knows how to
How early on was
compensate.
it you found him?
Oh, from the first record, I think.
Wow.
First or second record.
It's quite an important part of the Ariwa sound in a way.
Yeah, the cutting. Yeah, man. Noel. Yeah, man. Noel. I mean,
is he still doing it now?
Grew up. He's in Peckham, actually. I mean, he moved from there to a couple other places, and then I think one time he was at PWL, Peter Waterman, and then he was somewhere else after PRT, and then I think some place where he must have offered him the equipment at a good price, and he moved to his house, you know.
And he's got a lathe there.
Yeah, he's got a lathe there. You know, he's seen how the business changed and the clientele has changed as well. But you know, Noel, he survived.
Yeah,
like all of us from
having a
that
good client such as yourself.
Yeah. Well, you know, we worked over the years, you know. I mean, I tried a couple of other people at various times when he wasn't there. I mean, I used to cut dubs at like John Hassel and, you know, various people. And I might have used a guy called Terry. I might have used him. Terry was a reggae.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you probably heard of
I've heard of it.
Yeah. But not much. It's mainly Noel.
Okay. The 8th member of the Ariwa Posse.
Yeah, Noel was there. Like I said, you don't have to say anything.
He's just got it.
Because some people want to give the cutting engineer instructions. Oh, change this and change that. But
it's foolhardy, really. I mean, if those problems haven't been ironed out before you're sending it off,
then you shouldn't be sending it.
I mean,
you shouldn't be sending it, you know. Yeah.
So around 86, 87, Gortree Road got robbed.
Yeah, man. Gortree Road got burgled. Yeah, I mean, because Gortree Road, in a sense, I took my eye off the ball, but you know, no regrets. We were running hot. Whereas, like I said, coming from Thornton Heath, we lost a lot of the decent clients, and then coming down to Peckham, rough and ready, you know, people. And you know, someone came in one night, and you know, normally the alarm was on, and it wasn't on. Then, so it's someone who knew the alarm wasn't on.
Inside, someone who knew.
Yeah, someone. Yeah, it's one of those things. But you know, came in and DX7 missing. Yeah, keyboard, Revox PR99.
That's a 2-track, right?
Yeah, 2
So
track.
were you using that as your kind of master?
Yeah,
you'd
that was
bounce
my
down to
master machine.
Yeah.
Well,
And
that
worth a
was,
lot of money, I imagine. But
at
they are
that
now.
time, probably £1,000 at that time.
Wow.
Yeah, coin box gone. And what else? I think Sonic Mirage. Yeah, because by that time we started to make money. You know, the label was like.
Right. So you'd had Country Living by this point?
Oh yeah, we had Country Living. We had about three number one hits with Santa Claus. We had the Pato Banton that was selling. I think I just released the Maccabee Sign of the Times, which was selling like a 12-inch. And that was all underpinned by like Dub Me Crazy 5, which was a huge seller.
I was
And
amazed
Dub Me
reading
Crazy
some
4.
interviews, some of the quantities on dub albums, like you're talking 50,000.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, those dub albums, you press it and next thing you know, it finished. You know, and you gotta go back, you know. I mean, Dub Me Crazy 4 and 5 must have gone over 100,000.
So part 3 didn't quite go as...
Part 3, it's steady.
Yeah.
It's steady,
Yeah.
but part two was a good sell because we had the Conte Kente.
Right.
You know, the smart thing was that it was on the album for a long time before
You put it on the 10
before put it on 10
Yeah.
inch.
Oh,
So
was it? I
that-
see. Obviously
yeah.
I wasn't there, so I didn't. So it
No.
went that way round.
Okay,
Yeah.
you weren't born then.
No.
Oh, sorry, I keep forgetting. Yeah. I did the 12-inch.
on
The
the
10-inch. The 10-inch.
And then the
rather.
10 inch. Okay.
Yeah, I did the album first, then the 10-inch, you know. No, part 3, I think the bestseller, Dub Me Crazy, must have been part 5, then part 4, then part 2.
Was it Jetstar?
Yeah.
Were they dealing with all the distribution, or
Jetstar and a guy named Marcus was dealing, you know, he was like some guy running around in a van.
okay?
And then we had Rough Trade.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had a few guys because there's always been this interest in my stuff from like more indie side, people like Zircon and stuff, you know.
Okay, so they were
there,
distribution as well as labels,
Zircon. I'm not sure where they were selling it, but
And were you
Zircon
managing
was in
this
Fulham.
whole process yourself? All this kind of label side, because to be in the studio and doing that.
Yeah, I was doing that, you know. There's a time when I mean, like when Shaka just moved in, you know, I was doing a bit for him as well, you know. And sometimes I'd have assistant engineers and I'd dash down, or I'd go like dub vendor, Jetstar, then body music, then swing back around and come back, you know.
And made some music.
And I mean, it was easier to get around. Now when I hear Joe them talked about how they go up to Northland and it's taking them all day, you know.
Yeah.
Traffic and all that.
Yeah,
Before, within 2-3 hours, I'd go up to Halson and back. You know? Yeah, now I was doing it all, man, you know.
So the Ariwa Mad Professor thing was really swinging 86, 87.
Oh, by 86.
Yeah.
By 86, we were selling records. We had a decent amount of 12-inch, some hits 12-inch, hit albums. We had people abroad, like there was a guy in Germany that was selling a lot of records from us. There's the French people, you know, and we were always a label who had some European connections, you know. So it was strong. It was strong. And then I got burgled and I took everything back home. By that time, Joe was a year old and Kamal was just born.
Okay.
So, and
Yeah.
I stayed home and thinking, boy, I'm going to give this up.
That must have been a horrible feeling, really, kind of having so much going for you and then...
But that's life, man.
Yeah.
That's life. Shit happens,
Yeah.
You just, you take it from on the chin. You want to give it up. And then I nearly did. And then I thought, then it started to come back. I thought, let me build it back in the house. This time using a back room.
Mm-hmm.
I got my father-in-law to build a vocal booth this time.
Did you have space for a drum kit in there?
Did I? No, because luckily at that period of time, we didn't use drum kits.
The Oberheim was coming in and...
Yeah, and I had the drum tracks. Yeah,
galore.
drum tracks. Yeah. Sequential circuits, drum tracks. So we didn't really miss...
Yeah, the real drummer, yeah.
No, which is a shame.
Yeah.
Because like a couple of guys like Black Steel, he programs pretty well,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he learned it. What I do with most of those things, I would start it off, show them how to get into the parameters. Then being a musician, a real musician, he would catch it and do things with it that I can't do,
Right.
So, but then we did a few things. What song? Somebody mentioned a song to me yesterday that
Came
was
from
done.
this brief period.
Yeah, that was done there. Sorry. Yeah, the studio moved back to
home.
Yeah, which is interesting. Yeah, we just...
Were there some recordings that came out from that interim period in the house?
I know what... Sing Along, Lorna G. That was the track I was talking about.
Okay.
Just because she did her album launch and we played... And Joe was talking to me about the track, and I pointed out to him that track was done when the studio moved back home. That's one of the tracks. Dub Me Crazy 6. Yeah. The room wasn't right. The room, I mean, it was a room that was like a pass-through room. Pass-through from the kitchen to the outside. So, it was a room that had 3 other rooms going off of it.
Okay.
So it wasn't really... It wasn't a room.
Yeah.
It was like a glorified passage, but that was the control room.
Did what you had to do.
Yeah, and...
Where were you keeping the stock?
I think the stock was in the front room. That was the studio before. And in the passage.
This is the same Thornton Heath house.
Yeah, it's the same house. Yeah, same house. So somehow it was... And the thing is...
So you had 2 newborns, studio
2
in the
newborns,
corridor,
and
a ton of children.
And a bigger girl, because our daughter...
God, she was, 6 or 7 by then?
Yeah, she born 1980, so she would be 6.
Wow.
And then, it was just... Everything just got... And despite me doing a lot of business, I didn't had real money. It was still...
A crazy cash flow.
It was still a struggle. You never had enough money to do anything. And we needed to move house because and after the burglary we needed a studio.
Yeah.
So that's when I was thinking, well, boy, it looks like I'll have to go back to electronics or something like that. For the first time, but more than anything else, I was pissed off.
I bet.
Yeah, and I will, every now and again I'd drive out somewhere, and that's when I saw the present place. Because I'd drive out of the house, Bruce Road, then turn and go up, and then I turned one day and I looked straight ahead, and there was this building with a sign. I thought, Then I come back the next week or so, the sign was up.
And it said for sale or for rent?
I think it was for sale or property available.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, I wonder. And I came back and I said to Holly, I think, find out about this building, And I went in to it, and the guy said, well, you could come and have a look. And went in, had a look, saw the front room on the left, then the next room, and then a third room, and then he said, well, you could get access upstairs if you put your own stairs in. He said you'd have to put your own stairs. I said, okay. And then he said, and there's this. And to the right, it's like another building, and a window, and a big room. The room was, it's wider than this, and it's quite long, but 30 foot. And he said, and there's this. When I saw it, I said, this is what I want. Because straight away I realized the building, the other building was technically not attached.
And these with audio, these gaps matter a lot, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So it was
fully
isolated, with just this connection.
Yeah.
And I went through a lot of jumping hoops and all that.
Did you buy it outright?
Yeah, well, not outright.
You bought rather than rented.
Yeah.
It's something I heard, and this is amazing.
Yeah.
Because, whenever I've been lucky enough to come down, I've always said to myself, I think this is the largest building dedicated to reggae music, definitely in the UK, probably the world.
Yeah.
And then I heard in another interview that it's the largest studio complex in the UK.
Probably no. I mean,
it's massive.
I don't know. It is. It is. Things change with time.
Right.
I mean, you could move from the smallest to the largest by doing nothing, by just staying and being there. But when I started, definitely I wasn't the largest. I mean, I had people like PWL who I thought were amazing when I saw what Pete Waterman built up. And so in was the Elephant and Castle. I mean, it was great. I mean, but it ended up a lot but it was a lot of pressure, a lot of financial pressure, because I didn't have the money. I didn't have the money to buy it, but then I had to learn about juggling and raising finance. But it's something I wanted to do. I really, really wanted to get my studio up and going.
It's benefited mankind and the music world, the reggae music world, that it did happen, and it's still continuing strong today. It was
out of something bad, comes something good,
which continues to this day.
That's the thing. I mean, I wasn't in a good place when I had to move, but I had to just rebuild, and then I had to find out just how bad I was, because I had to clean up my financial history and part, because I couldn't even borrow money by then. I was so messed up, but I had to really get on top of it. And then when we moved in the studio, I realized that I didn't really have money to soundproof it. So by then the bank kind of was better, and we were under pressure to start producing again. So the first couple of tunes, luckily, sold about 10,000 each. You know, yeah.
Can you remember what that was?
Yeah, we had like my guy Sandra Cross.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was hot then.
The John McLean stuff, was that around then?
Yeah. That was coming up later on that year, you know. But we had a few big tunes before his, you know.
This is still the Soundcraft desk and the Ampeg.
Still the Soundcraft. My old Soundcraft it was there, and I got it tweaked up, and then Ampeg's 1100. I had to put air conditioning in the studio, all of which cost money. I had to soundproof that window on the road because
of course,
it was. I mean, White Horse Lane is a busy road.
So was the studio initially closer to the road? Because now I get so lost coming there. But I swear, you go down a corridor.
That's another studio.
Yeah,
that's the next one that we built.
That's the one that Joe uses now.
Yeah. We have a third one as well.
Yeah,
which I don't know what they use.
No, I don't know if I have. No, get lost in it. Yeah.
There's one. Okay, the one I've got at the front is the SSL. That's got SSL.
I have been in there, I think. That's right.
Yeah, that's the one. And then the one Joe uses, that got another Soundcraft, Sapphire, 52 channel. And then there's the next one with a Midas, a 40 channel Midas, which they use for sampling and all kinds of things. You know, I mean, we end up with a lot of space. Then there's like 2 or 3 tape storage rooms. And then there's a warehouse that goes further down.
It's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah. No, it's really been like a luxury, because the truth is, you'd look at even my studio and say, yeah, but you could make maybe £1,500 a month if you was to just rent this as a flat, you know. Mm-hmm. And then you could think like that, but for me, it's not the money, you know. I mean, I do it because I love it, you know. I'm not really into just making
craving like that.
No. You know, so after you reach another level, you realize the use of something is much more important than the money. I mean, and if you want money, you could sell everything. You could sell the T-shirt.
And what would you do with that money anyway? You'd probably end up trying to make something like you have already. So just cut out the middle situation.
That's it. I mean, people come by every week. They drop things through the door. Oh, we're interested in your building. We want to buy. Well, for what? I mean,
God,
I hate to build that, to be honest. To build a load of flats. I mean, look at this building where you're at. Some people kind of think further than think, oh, we could knock this out and put 10-story skyscraper and somebody would make, £10 million or something like that.
And instead, there's 108 different businesses in here, including Winston Edwards and some other. And
this is what I mean.
I love it.
You're actually providing some use to society. You're developing your own industry rather than money. When you have money, and
it does. I hate that word, trickle down, but it does trickle down eventually, and it spreads out. All of these little businesses in here, they're going to develop into something, and small businesses will find their graft. You need spaces. You need spaces, physical spaces.
People could do things, and society got to look at that and stop trying to convert. If you know the amount of places like mine, they were around where I am, and they converted everything.
Short-sighted.
Yeah, just
because ultimately, it doesn't end up better, even financially, for the whole of society.
Well, the taxman takes 45% straight away, and you think, what's that all about? I mean, I usually play people along when they come along and say, oh, we'd like your building. And I say, how much for? And then they usually say, $1 million, $2 million. I said, yeah, but you know what? Sorry, we're not selling. I was just winding you up.
Yeah,
I'm
just
not
see what they're saying. So, the most recent, did you get the SSL around 2014? Did that happen during that kind of big changeover?
Yeah, this is my second SSL.
Okay.
Yeah, I first got SSL around 2002, 2001. That was a E. That was a 48E. Same time I got myself the Studer thing.
Right.
Yeah.
800.
Because I moved from the Ampex MM1100. That was good. And then I got 1200. Yeah. I got 1200 Ampex, which is like the 1100 but not as sharp, not as bright, you know. Good machine. And then that lasted a few years. Then I got myself an Otari. First, I got myself an Otari, I think what was it? MX80, which is a cute, smaller machine. Really cute machine. And in fact,
What's the format on that?
it's 2-inch.
2-inch.
2-inch 24.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's like the big Otari is called MTR 90. It looks a bit like a Ampex.
Yeah.
Right. But to me, it doesn't sound as good. It's woody. I mean, I've been through almost...
You still got the Atari somewhere, don't you? I swear
No.
I've seen it in there. No.
No, not that. No, we got a couple of machines down at the back. We got what do you call MCI.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we got MCI and we got two other Studers. We got and we got I think Tascam and a Fostex. I mean,
Those are the
I
more
used to
budget ones.
try machines like how some women try shoes.
Okay. Yeah.
And I could tell you about which one songs for what. And,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
yeah. I became a machine expert, you know. Yeah. I love playing with machines. One time I had 3 MCIs, you know.
Wow.
And then
Multi-track.
Yeah,
Yeah.
multi-tracks, yeah. And then
Wow.
I realized that, I had to sell them all. Well, now I kept one, you know.
And so we were talking the other day, so the A800 is how big? That's 16?
The
You've got 2 head blocks, haven't you?
Yeah, I've got 2 24 head blocks, so I could only play one at a time. Then I've got a 16 2-inch as well.
16 2-inch. So we're talking
You talk
serious quality here.
Right.
Yeah.
The 16 2-inch is the same format like we had on the Ampex, the big MM.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and those tapes work well because like I just played back that track with Twinkle.
Yeah.
That was
That was done
16.
like that.
Yeah.
The African message.
Yeah. That's mixed off of that 16 head block.
And so you're really good at keeping your machines aligned. Did you do all that?
Yeah, man.
So
yeah,
you know it's
yeah,
just going
I
to
do
come
that.
off crystal.
Spot on. Yeah, I love that 16 format. In fact, Joe wants us to do a session using that.
So you say that came off the 16, but that African message sounded, and please correct me if I'm wrong, sounded like it was mixed back then, not now.
No, it was mixed now.
It was mixed now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool, I'm wrong.
Now. Yeah.
Wicked. Oh, man.
Yeah, that's what I mean. With the sound you could get now,
combined with that?
Yeah, because now with the SSL, and so if you take time, you could get it to sound like them.
Yeah, with the SSL.
Yeah, you could get it to sound
right. Give it the Soundcraft vibes.
with the quality.
Yeah. Oh man, it drops so heavy.
But it needs time.
Yeah,
you need to, because the SSL by all means it could be a boring desk. I'll be honest with you.
Very
It
clean.
could be tame,
Yeah.
Could be very tame, very polite desk. But there's ways where you could make it rugged.
Make it, yeah. Well, you
Yeah,
definitely achieved that.
Yeah. It's and that next track on the other side, I Should Give a Little Love. That was done like from create from the creator.
From that time session,
same.
Yeah. With the drum machine. on
Same
that.
session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
same.
both sides did their thing. It was a pleasure to sell it in the shop because you had a certain crowd for the A side.
Right.
I could even sell it to people who aren't really into reggae.
Reggae, yeah.
You know, the kind of
'Cause it's
disco
got that.
thing.
Yeah, that's it.
And then the Roots guys come in, flip it over, crank it up. I don't even need to say anything else.
Yeah.
Money's in the till already.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Shaka on bass. You could hear that's him,
Yeah.
Soul finger,
And Norman Grant on the drums.
Yeah, Norman Grant on the drums,
And
that was
gone across on the keys.
Pepper. Yeah, I think Pepper on keyboard, yeah. So, I mean, Pepper is a great musician and he should have really been bigger than he is, It's a shame, really.
Honestly, hearing
'Cause,
the vocals and the musicianship, it's
Yeah, but I think quite honestly, him and Steele in the same house is like sugar and salt in the same jar, So it was not easy to have both of them, because after a while your ears just get battered from two different sides.
too much quality. Yeah.
Yeah, too much politics,
Yeah.
But yeah, they're all great musicians,
Yeah, well, I mean, you always seem to strive for that, to have quality people around you.
Yeah, man, and we push them to get to a certain level, and you learn from working with those guys,
Yeah.
You learn a lot.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you very much for coming on here. I could talk for hours more. I've got so many more questions to ask you.
You seem to be in tune.
We love it. I mean, how could we not be?
Well, I could understand your enthusiasm, because when I started, that's how I was about equipment, and there's nothing like having a keenness to learn, because, especially about
joy.
times where you weren't there and you can't imagine.
No.
And you can only talk to people who were there.
And you can only get a percentage of that feeling, but even that is inspiring.
Yeah, exactly. About formatting. I mean, I was like that when I was talking to people about tubbies and stuff like that.
King Tubbies.
Yeah, King Tubbies.
This is something I kind of want to talk to you about.
Yeah.
You often in interviews talk about Joe Gibbs, Errol Thompson,
Yeah, I love
even
that.
Sylvia Morris, Harry J's,
Yeah, man.
and then you talk
Yeah.
about a lot of the kind of American stuff. Unusually for a dub guy,
Yeah.
I rarely hear you bring up King Tubby's name in the whole studio. Obviously, I'm not just talking about King Tubby, but like scientists and jammies and everyone who worked there. Was that a big inspiration, that sound?
It was, but because even though I'm a dub guy, I love dub. I really love the production of songs, and I love like what Joe Gibbs and Errol Thompson done with songs, and especially songs that could be boring songs, Like I think Winston got album by Rudy Thomas, First Time Around.
Yes.
Something.
Rudy Thomas, who is also
MOR.
engineer. He was an
engineer as well. Yeah. MOR singer. Middle of the road. But the way they would take it to the next level.
Using some of these dubbing techniques and recording techniques.
Yeah, great
as well as the
studio.
great musicianship.
Great studio.
Yeah.
The next one that people overlook is like Jeffrey Chung and Federal. Great. And as
Class.
I mean, I just love that.
Yeah.
I mean, I love like what you call it as well. Yeah, federal. I love dynamics. I mean, in my book, I'm touching on all these because I've got a book coming.
It's coming, yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll definitely be reading that. Then I'll have some more questions for you. Yeah.
Well, I think you've got all the answers.
Yeah.
You're already there. You know what's going on, and you know where I'm coming from. But yeah,
we love it.
Good.
Cool. Yeah. Well, long may Ariwa continue.
Yes, thank you.
And it's in safe hands with Joe.
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah, man. Joe's keen. Like yourself, he was always asking questions.
Right. Love it.
Because even though he was around as a little boy, he wasn't really, and he can't remember certain things. So I have to just remind him.
Of course. Yeah, but there's big shoes.
Yeah.
But he's doing good. I mean, I've loved all his recent productions.
Yes, good. Now you'd have to come now. We got a few rooms where in an ideal world we do different songs in different rooms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Could all have them sort of connected to each other.
Yeah. Well, two of them used to be. We had them tied in, but now, no.
Yeah, it's not actually that necessary.
Yeah, keep everything separate, Yeah, and I'm hardly there. I mean, I'm only in...
Right, you're on the road, traveling or...
Yeah, I love traveling. I love taking holidays.
Yeah. Good. You deserve it. You definitely deserve it.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
My professor, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cool.
Straight from the lion mouth.